Hi everybody, welcome to IndyCar Monday, what is it, 17th today? Let's just check, make sure, yeah, Monday the 17th. Okay, so, the subject of this show really is Boris Johnson. I mean, we can't really escape the fact that an invisible man is basically leading in a TV debate where he wasn't even present. Now, call me cynical, but the idea of a TV debate surely is to have all the candidates there to debate something. And the purpose of a TV debate is usually to convince voters who are watching it to vote for one of the candidates. Now in this case, none of these things is true. This TV debate was between 5 members of the same Tory party who are all vying for the top job, the job of being the Tory leader and eventually the Prime Minister, but none of them was going to be voted on by us. Now, after this event happened the other night, okay, the Channel 4 so-called TV debate, where you saw the 5 of them all getting ripped into each other about what they were going to do and what they were going to say and all the rest of it, and eventually Jeremy Hunt pointed out that there was somebody missing. Now, it was kind of obvious to the rest of us that Boris Johnson wasn't there, but the fact that they would even go ahead with the debate where the man who's actually leading in the polls isn't even present at the debate goes to tell you just how important the TV debate actually was to any of them. I mean, Michael Gove gave the game away himself when he said the reason that Boris hadn't shown up was because he was spending his time more profitably chatting up the MPs that he needed to support him to win the vote. Because remember, at the moment, it is down to MPs to vote on the final 2, not even the Tory party. It's down to MPs. So there was absolutely no point in having any kind of debate on television. It was just play acting. Channel 4 was pretending that voters had some kind of interest in what happened or some kind of stake in the outcome of this particular debate. And they didn't, because it doesn't matter what the debate is, and it doesn't matter what the candidates say, or what they promise, or what they threaten to do. The end result will always be the same. Boris Johnson is going to win. And he's going to win because he's spending his time profitably talking to the people that he wants to support him, which means that he will be one of the 2 who goes forward to be voted on by the Blue Rins Party in their homes, you know, in the southeast of England, where they're all happily retired and living on their millions. So doesn't involve any of us at all. And in fact, for Channel 4 to stage an event like this is a bit of a puzzle for me. Why did they bother in the first place? But it really just was entertainment. It wasn't in any way a political event, because nothing that any of these guys said meant anything, because none of them was going to be in a position to do any of it. And the laughable part of it was that they were vying with each other to create more and more hoops for the Scottish people to jump through before they would be permitted to have any kind of vote on their own self-determination, as if they have any power at all over the Scottish people, when they plainly don't. We have the Claim of Right. We have the Scotland Act. In Ireland they have the Good Friday Agreement, which is an international treaty. All of these things guarantee the rights of the people who live in these non-English parts of the United Kingdom. So there is nothing that any of these 5 impotent, angry, middle-aged white men have got that could actually make any difference to any of those things. Rory Stewart, to his lasting credit, pointed out the glaringly obvious, which is that the exit deal, which was agreed with the European Union, all 700 pages of it in all great detail, can't be renegotiated. So nothing that any of these 5 men said was true, because they couldn't do any of it. Nothing that they said can actually happen. It was pointless. It was a performance for the cameras and for an audience to sit like the Great British Bake Off and watch a pointless exercise happening on the screen while they sat on their sofas, allowing it to happen. The real story here is not what's happening in TV debates, it's what's happening in the smoke-filled rooms of Westminster. And I believe there probably still are smoke-filled rooms. I'm pretty sure that Westminster gets away with so many other things. A bit of smoking is probably permitted somewhere. But the point of all of this is that nothing that we are shown on the television is real. None of it. Boris Johnson is going to be one of the two put forward. The other one will probably be Gove, or it might be Jeremy Hunt. But they won't win, because Boris Johnson is the one that the Tories want. He's the bombastic, he's the lunatic with the fuzzy hair and the stupid jokes, the one with the overtly racist personality, who has made racism acceptable to the middle classes in England again. He's the guy that they're going to crown the King of Brexitannia when all of this is over. And it's obvious that we're going to go for a no-deal Brexit, because there is no time to renegotiate and no negotiations are possible. So what is the point of any of this other than entertainment? There isn't any. It is just entertainment. But what is more worrying, I think, for us as Scots is the fact that the Tories are positioning everything in place to have a major emergency at the moment. And they are, as usual, going along with the Americans as the lapdog into a new military adventure against Iran, a new war. Now, as soon as Britain starts another war and starts to take part in another war, and as soon as it leaves the European Union and there's pandemonium and shortages and everything's in crisis, then it's very easy for Westminster to suspend the rule of law and introduce emergency measures. And those emergency measures will include installing a puppet government in Scotland again under Mundell, and shutting down or bypassing Holyrood before it has any chance to do anything at all. I've warned about this repeatedly for the last, 4 years, that they are trying gradually to build up enough of a presence in Scotland so that when they organise this massive emergency, because it's not accidental, we haven't blundered into it, this is deliberate. They spent 3 years preparing for this emergency, and I don't mean preparing for it and making plans so that we don't suffer. I mean they're preparing for us to be victims of it. The whole point of it is so that there is an emergency, so that they can suspend the normal rule of law, so that they can get rid of devolution completely, either suspend it permanently or just basically axe it totally, and take full control over everything in Scotland that belongs to Scotland but is going to be ripped out of our hands because of their Brexit emergency. It's going to happen. It's been I don't know why nobody sees this, but everything that you're watching on your television at the moment is a puppet show. It is entertainment. It's bread and circuses. It keeps you amused while you're waiting for the inevitable disaster that they are preparing for you, because that is what's going to happen. Once Britain leaves the EU under a no-deal Brexit, all deals are off. There are no human rights. There are no laws that apply to you anymore from the European Union. There is no right to self-determination. There's no right to anything unless this bunch of eating, educated, racist idiots determine that it's okay for you to have something. We have to leave the UK before this happens, because if we don't, then we will look back on this year and say, I wish we had done that. We wouldn't be in the mess we're in now. We wouldn't be in endless wars. We wouldn't have all of our resources being plundered by the Westminster government, and we wouldn't be poor, we wouldn't be losing jobs, we wouldn't be unemployed, we wouldn't have no health service, we wouldn't have to pay medical insurance to an American company that's owned by one of Trump's family. All of these things are going to happen. It's not a fantasy, it's not a scare story anymore. It's all being arranged as we speak. We're watching all the pieces falling into place. All the climate change denial, that's part of the US plan for the UK, that we are going to be part of the climate denial. We're probably going to start mining for coal again. We're probably going to start up our nuclear program again. We're probably going to start burning everything in sight again, so that America can be great again, and so that the United Kingdom can have its so-called empire again. But we know that in the next 15 years, the climate emergency is going to fall on everybody's heads across the planet. Last week, the entire fruit crop in the south of France was destroyed in 10 minutes by golf ball-sized hailstones. They decimated the trees, they decimated the orchards in 10 minutes. They smashed windows in houses, they wrecked cars. And that was just a 10-minute hailstorm, and that's caused by far too much heat in the atmosphere, driving thunderstorms over Europe. And that's just one thing that happened out of many things that are happening across the world. There's droughts in other places, there's floods in other places. All of this is happening while we dither, while we wait and do nothing. We must get out of the UK. We must convert our economy to a sustainable model where we change over from burning fossil fuels and from dabbling in nuclear power to fully integrated tidal, wind, solar and all of the other free energy sources combined together to drive our economy, to heat our homes, to drive our vehicles. But we also have to live with less, and nobody seems to care at the moment about that. We're all spending our money, we're buying loads of stuff, we're wasting loads of plastic, just like we always do. And yet nobody's seeing the warning signs for that either. The country is sleepwalking into a disaster just now. And the longer we wait to do something about it, the worse it is going to be for our grandchildren as well as ourselves. We need to wake up. The SNP needs to take a stronger line now. As soon as Boris Johnson is crowned King of Brexitland, we need to get out. And we need to do it before they suspend the devolution settlement or destroy it. They've already said that they're going to ride right over the top of devolution. They actually haven't even said they're going to bother repealing it because they can't be bothered. To them it's meaningless. It has no meaning to the British mindset. To them, devolution is a pretend parliament, a talking shop for the jocks. It's a talking shop for the taffies. It's a talking shop for the paddies. You know, that's the way they look at it. We don't matter. We will just be told what to do when the time comes, of course, and we'll have our children will be, you know, drafted into the army to fight the wars for them that are going to make so much money for the Tories. Everything at the moment is about warfare, pollution. It's about ending the European Union experiment. As far as they're concerned, living in a peaceful Europe where everybody competes on a level playing field and everything is fine and everybody shares everything, that's not good enough. Suddenly we've got to abandon all of that and go with America. Go with the anti-Arab stance of America and Israel for some reason. We've got to attack Iran. We've got to attack any other small country that has oil. And remember, we are a small country that has oil. So it's not a good time, okay? And it's not going to be a happy outcome if we sit and do nothing about it. We have to act. The SNP needs to make stronger statements saying they're not going to be blown off course by these empty threats, by these so-called candidates for the leadership of the Tory party. They're not candidates at all. These are glove puppets putting on a puppet show to keep you occupied while Boris Johnson is preparing for a coup, a takeover of Scotland, along with his cohorts. And his cohort is Ruth Davidson and David Mundell. Gove is part of it as well. They're all pals, they're all in the same party, they're all pretend Scots, but they're all waiting in the wings, basically to spring this coup in Scotland and end devolution forever. That's what they want. They didn't want devolution in the first place. They will end it as soon as they get half a chance. And don't even take my word for it. Listen to the rhetoric that's coming out of the mouths of the Tories themselves about how they think of Scotland, what they think they can tell us to do, and what we have to do to gain permission from these lunatics in London before we are allowed to vote on what our country does. I don't think so. We've got the Claim of Right, we've got the Scotland Act, we have got the Edinburgh Agreement. There are all sorts of other things that we can show that we have done to try and get the English government to see reason, and they wouldn't listen. We voted repeatedly not to leave Europe. We voted again not to leave Europe in the European elections. They still didn't take any notice. They're still trying to force us out. They've said there'll be no wildcat referendums allowed in Scotland. Ha ha ha. Well, that would be fun. How are they going to stop us, eh? A wildcat is the national animal of Scotland. Better to be a wildcat, I think, than a lapdog. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye for now.